Welcome back to InfoWars Nightly News. I'm Rob Dew, and this is the interview section of the program. Thanks to Jakari Jackson for doing the news. I hope you guys have enjoyed watching all the new reporters sit in the big chair and present the news and give out their views as well. And after this segment, Jakari is going to be joining Darren McBreen in the studio, and they're going to go over this whole riot talk that has been permeating through the news, through the social networks and Twitters, and talk about, you know, where we're going to go, and could this be another situation where if Obama loses, are we going to have another LA riot? But in the meantime, we're going to talk about a subject that I've been interested in, and a few of the people in the office, including one Rob Jacobson, he's the other Rob in the studio. We are big into alternative energy. We talk about it, we have beers over it, we discuss it, we have heated debates over what's real and what's possible and what's impossible. And we're about to talk to Sterling Allen, who is the editor of PES Wiki, PESWIKI.com. And it is an amazing resource if you're interested in new energy systems that are actually about to come to market, coming to fruition. He's got a top 5 energy sites in there, and it's really amazing. And one of the ones we're going to start off with is Andrea Rossi, who's got some really amazing stuff coming. So without further ado, let's turn to Sterling Allen. Sterling, how you doing?
Hi, Rob. Great to be on your show.
It's great to have you on. I'm so glad you reached out to us, contacted us. I really want to get to the bottom of this because I really believe, as you do, that the next great human revolution and evolution starts with getting alternative energy that is not controlled, that is more of a leveling of the playing field, so to speak. So why don't you tell us why you got into this and a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, first I want to compliment you, a team there at InfoWars. You guys are doing an amazing job. I'm really excited to see your explosion of growth, both in your reach as well as the staff on the people who are coming in and serving as anchors, bringing a lot more variety. I really love it. I've been a follower for a long time. I woke up about the same time Alex did, and I've been out there beating the bushes and trying to make a difference in the planet. And for the last decade, I've shifted my focus to renewable energy, free energies technologies, as I call them. Because when I say free energy, I'm not talking about stuff you don't have to pay for. I'm talking about things that the environment gives us free for the taking. Solar's free, wind is free, geothermal's free. And obviously the devices that harvest those are not free. But we focus in on the exotic free energy technologies. You might call the ones I just mentioned mainstream, and the ones that I focus on are the fringe or the alternative, the outside the box stuff. And as Alex pointed out, as well as Gerald Celente in 2010, those mainstream technologies are to energy what mainstream medicine and mainstream news is to news and medicine. You guys know they're very corrupt, and they're not going to be providing much of a solution. They're kind of a half-baked answer to what we really need. And these things that are outside the box are the ones that really have the promise to not only provide clean energy, but do it at a price point that is not only affordable, but cheaper than what you get from the grid. Makes us independent from the grid, enables us to basically stick it to the man, basically render the powers that be obsolete so we don't need them anymore. It's a great way to have a peaceful revolution and bring about a fundamental change in the way we do things, and empowering the individual and giving power back to the people, so to speak, and out of the hands of the corrupt powers that be, the 1% that they talk about, those ruling elite who have been just totally running haphazard over all constitutional and other principles, establishing a world tyranny. Free energy is one of the best ways, if not the best way, to do an end run around the powers that be.
I agree, and that's why you don't see this stuff just shooting out into the media like you do other types of stories that get out there. Although we did see, and I got this off your site, Andrea Rossi's Black Box by Popular Science, and it goes
yesterday.
Over. Yeah, that came out. Did that came out today?
Yesterday.
Right. And basically it goes into Rossi's cold fusion process. Why don't you go in a little bit about Rossi and how he got contacted, and now finally we're seeing that breaking of the third, fourth wall going into mainstream media.
Sure, and it's really exciting, in my opinion, what's going on. Is we're seeing a gradual shifting in the mainstream to where their coverage is not so cynical or not so skeptical, but it's still quite rare that we get mainstream coverage. And even this story out of Popular Science, I think the reason they let it run is because the author comes across as a skeptic. But in my opinion, the author really wanted this stuff to be true, had kind of a bad experience. But the bottom line is that he saw something real, and that comes through in his writing in the area of cold fusion, that the mainstream academia, as a criminal act, in my opinion, in 1989, when it first came out by Pons and Fleischmann, they did a total slam job, and the hot fusion people who had a vested interest in the technology, they're getting billions of dollars from the government, part of the corporate control of energy. They basically gave the label of junk science to cold fusion, which has stuck and made it academic suicide for anyone in academia to pursue it, talk about it. If you have a patent that even hints at cold fusion, you don't get the patent awarded. I have friends that work at the patent office who can confirm that. There have been thousands of patents, that and others, that have been denied or shelved. National security orders issued on them. There's huge suppression in free energy. But you know what, Rob? I like to focus not on the suppression, but on the hope that comes when people don't have fear and they just move ahead with no fear, because the bully, the way he has control over people is through fear. That's why they did 911. That's why they do these other false flag operations, is to scare the pants off of us so that we, cower down and let them kind of, come in and dominate us. If we have no fear, they lose power. And that's been my approach in the decade that I've been tracking this stuff as an obsession almost. Every waking hour I'm focused on this stuff at a great sacrifice, trying to bring notice to these things and help bring attention to them. Andrew Rossi is out there in the lead in cold fusion. Last January 14th, he did a press conference in Bologna, Italy, where he announced, that was January 14th, 2011, he had a demonstration of a multiple kilowatt, we're talking around 12 kilowatt system, and in this press conference that was being signed off by professors and other academics on site. And that was kind of his cannonball splash coming into public awareness. And ever since then, there's been a real gathering in the alternative media. The mainstream media kind of took a peek and they kind of said, nah, it couldn't be. And they basically just deep sixed it, threw it in the trash can. That's basically the status they took, is they basically ignored it as being, that's junk science. We all know that. Let's go somewhere else. Ignore that, everybody. And that's the status they've been taking. The Salt Lake, or the Utah media, where Pons and Fleischmann came out of, have been completely silent on the issue of cold fusion and on Andrew Rossi. The only coverage they've given of cold fusion of any of the mainstream media in Utah, where they should be talking about this stuff, if anywhere, because that's where Pons and Fleischmann came from. They say, just as a follow-up, they don't even give that much. They don't give any coverage whatsoever, except when Fleischmann died a couple months ago, they did a couple, 2 or 3 stories. One of them was actually had a good paragraph in it. Somebody actually took some time to interview me on it, and they had some positive coverage. That was it.
Yeah, those guys actually made the cover of Time magazine at one point for their cold fusion experiments that couldn't be reproduced correctly. And what I think is amazing, I actually heard an urban legend that Rossi put out a kind of bet saying, if anybody can disprove what I've proven here, I'll pay you $10,000. And then he was able to get other scientists to join him. Is that true? Is that a true story?
That might be getting confused with Storm, which is another one in our top 5. Okay. I don't remember Andrew Rossi doing that. He is a very interesting person, and his approach basically is the academic world has had their chance, and they've blown it. Right. He's going to have his technology proven by bringing it to the market and making it available for sale. And actually, you can actually purchase a 1 megawatt unit right now for delivery in 3 to 6 months. And they're manufacturing these things. I saw a 1 megawatt unit in operation in Bologna, Italy on October 28, 2011, last year. The thing self-ran for 5.5 hours so that it was producing enough heat to keep itself running while producing energy. They ran it at half power because of, they really were going gangbusters to try and get this thing up and running on a deadline, and they had people coming in. And anyway, they had a choice either to go 1 megawatt without self-running, so they had an input source and then an output, or they could run it half power in self-loop mode, and the customer chose to go with the latter. I was there. And I'm not saying that, we were able to witness it, each one of us that were there, about 20, 30 of us from around the world who were at that event. And it's not like we were able to, be there from beginning to end. We had about 5-minute segments. It was a safety issue. This is a nuclear device. And the Safety Commission basically kind of let them slide by a rule by letting us come in at 5-minute intervals, and everyone else, the scientists that were there to sign off on it, they were there the full time for the customer, but those of us that were observing only had short little glimpses of it. But we were able to receive the report from the customer, who at the end gave the numbers and said, we're happy, we like what we saw, and we're on board.
Well, and just for the layman there, what could 1 megawatt power? I mean, how many devices could you power with that?
Sure. A megawatt, just roughly speaking, is a small locomotive. Now, this is steam in this case, and so obviously you have to convert that to, turbines, generators, and whatnot. But that gives you an idea of how much power that is. That's a lot of power.
Very interesting. And so he's going to be producing devices that are going to be up, in 6 months, ready to market?
No, well, the 1 megawatt is available now. It's not that he's shipping them now. He's taking orders and building and assembling them now.
Okay.
There's one that's supposed to be finished and installed in Italy, northern Italy, any week now, that will be able for new customers to go in, see, kick the tires, so to speak, before they purchase one. Because right now, the customer's confidential military interest, that they can't say who it is, where it is. But this new customer in Italy, they will be able to go in and see it. And that's supposed to be ready pretty soon. So that will be very exciting when that happens. He's involved in basically 3 approaches. One is the 1 megawatt unit. Another is a home unit for home heating, culinary purposes, and the certifications on that are taking a long time, because when you have something in a home, people are getting drunk and doing stupid things. It's much more different than in an industrial setting where the safety standards are much higher and people are much more professional. So you don't have nearly as rigorous of process. They did get the safety certification on the 1 megawatt unit, but not yet on the home unit, and we don't know when that's going to happen. So it could be a year, it could be 6 months, could be 18 months, don't know. But the thing that's really exciting, the one that we're just talking about is in the region of 200, 300 degrees Celsius, which isn't that hot. You can't produce electricity very well with that. But in the last about 6 months, they've developed what's called a hot cat. Where it gets up to 1,000 degrees Celsius. You need to have at least 600 degrees Celsius to turn, to produce steam, to turn a turbine, make electricity very efficiently. And they achieved that hallmark. And they've been testing, doing the refinements and getting this thing tested, proven, optimized. And that thing is probably going to be making the biggest splash in terms of a really practical device that can be used for all kinds of energy, including heat and electricity. So these guys are number 2 in our top 5.
I see that. And number 1, you have confidential. What does that mean on your list? I just pulled that off your website.
Yeah, that inventor is actually, I'm here in the UK right now at a bed and breakfast, just not far from the inventor, and I'm going to be here for 10 days. We're taking data. It's very exciting. What we see so far, the data that I personally have taken, where I've sat down with a pen and paper and instruments to read, the measurements coming off this device, and I've been, basically it's me and the inventor, just one test after another. The thing blew a gasket, so to speak, and actually made a huge dent in the wall Sunday when I showed up. Luckily, no one was hurt. When they're standing in the way, it made like a 3-inch dent in the wall.
Wow!
So this is fairly well engineered too. So You know, we've got to have that fixed, got it back on today and tomorrow. We had to do one little. So, you know, it's really been interesting to be involved in this process. All I can say about that one, I mean, I can say a bit about it.
Well, what type of unit is it? Is it a nuclear unit? Is it electromagnetic?
You know,
what?
It's a force multiplier system, and this is something that's so flippin' simple that when it comes out, people will be having a hard time believing it because it's so simple. They'll think, if this was true, somebody would have come up with it by now. It's so easy, and this is something which he's actually. I had a meeting with two of his lawyers yesterday. Or attorneys, I guess they call them. There's a difference, and I'm not sure what that difference is, but we're going to be doing the possibility of, if we meet a certain criteria, he's willing to open source it. He wants us to raise a certain minimum amount through crowdfunding so he can get a laboratory, so he doesn't just, you know, piss away his a lot of work he's put into this.
Right.
He's been at it 17 years, 4 years full time, and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. And he owes a lot of people small loans that have helped him get to this point. And he doesn't believe in open source like I do. So he wants to basically say, he wants to give us an opportunity to open it up to crowdfunding. If we can get enough people to say, yeah, we believe in you and we'll help you build your laboratory, then he will be under contract to let us open source it. He wants to see a couple of contracts, licensees come to the table first. This is a technology which, according to the numbers, the math on this is straightforward math, actually. It's not convoluted rocket science kind of stuff. It's not PhD level required to even understand it. This is something that you could explain to a kindergartner and they would be able to understand it. Not the math, but the general concept. And this is something that there would be, you know, one person in every town on the planet, including in Africa, who has enough smarts to pull resources from the local community, take parts from a car, take parts from this, part from that, and hobble something together, make a 5-kilowatt system.
Wow, that's very impressive.
So this is home power capability using off-the-shelf, you know, slapping, and it's a general. Once people start replicating this and start, you know, coming up with the different iterations of it, and you can use this, you can try this, and you get more power if you do that. And then in Australia, you can get your parts from here. Once it goes open source, basically we're talking about an end run around the powers that be, because now everyone has the ability to create jobs, create power, cheap power from stuff that we have around. Even if the powers that be are able to be successful in bringing around this economic collapse that they've been engineering for decades, and they're so close to getting achieving their goal. And that's one of the reasons I'm really glad to come on your show, because we've got to get the message out to patriots that we've got to drumbeat this message of free energies on its way, because depression is not just an economic situation, it's an attitude of the heart. And if we can get people to realize that solutions are really close, even if they might not appear this year, if it might be a few months out, just knowing that it's on its way provides a hope factor that can help people lift up their chin, get out of the doldrums, get out of depression, and just kind of bide the time and not go on these riots and looting and just, well, the world's ending, so we might as well just, you know, piss it away.
Yeah, exactly. There is a lot of hope out there, and I can see it, and just going through your site and just, you know, your attitude about it is just, this is a peaceful revolution to put out ideas. I like the open sourcing because it lets other people innovate, because that's what made America great too, is just the massive amount of innovation that would come about. But putting stuff out on a worldwide scale and just letting people, you know, tweak this, add a little bit of that, and then all of a sudden, you know, there's energy devices being made in every town, you know, in the country. Like you said, in small villages in Africa, they're able to produce their own power. It makes them, you know, be able to get off the grid, so to speak, and not be dependent, because that's where they control us, is by making us dependent on electricity, on water, everything. They try to make us dependent to the system, and by breaking free of that, that's where we will see our true power unfold itself and manifest.
Yeah, and fearful. See, this stuff takes away the fear. This is empowering. If you can create your own energy, you can grow your own food. You don't have to be beholden to these guys. If you can make an energy device that powers a house from the junker sitting in the back of your house, that's pretty empowering.
Yeah, I can't wait to see. When do you think you're going to be putting out this information?
I don't know, because, you know, there's a lot of variables here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how quickly are people going to step up to the plate? When they put that thing out about building the Tesla Museum, they raised $1 million in 1 week through crowdfunding. If we could pull something like that off, then it could go fast. In our contract, we're going to have 80 days from the time we start the crowdfunding to raise £500,000. And if we can raise that, then he is contractually obligated to open source. But first, before we start the crowdfunding, we need to bring two licensees, at least two licensees, to the table. And so that's kind of some give and take that we talked about yesterday. I wanted to go directly to you know, crowdfunding and open source if possible, but I could see why he wants to have some stability there. And also having licensees on the table will help bring the credibility that we'll need, because we can't say much about this. We can't show pictures. We can't, because once somebody walks in the room and sees it, they're going to know how it works.
Wow.
And once they realize that it does work, this is going to be like, think of gunpowder. When gunpowder, think about how much that changed everything. Just the invention of gunpowder and all the things we were able to do with that. This is a paradigm shift, a new concept that will open up an entire new area of science that we have overlooked for centuries. This is so flippin' simple.
Well, I guess if people want to get involved, they could just go to your website and contact you, and you'll get them the proper channels.
Yeah, we have a newsletter. The best domain name, by the way, for people to remember is freeenergynews.com. That forwards to PESWiki.com.
Okay.
That you mentioned earlier. Freeenergynews.com, you know, I've been the Free Energy News guy for a decade. We have a great news and directory services you mentioned. Appreciate your plug there. But we have at the top right, there's a little place where you can subscribe to our newsletter. Or you can put us in your favorites and check us up from time to time. And I hope we can come on your show from time to time and give you guys updates about what's going on here as we come across some of these major milestones. And by the way, I want to plug your Money Bomb tomorrow. You guys, you know, I've contributed in the past. We put links to it in our news. We do off-topic stuff sometimes. We talk about GMO. We talk about cloud, chemtrailing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we cover all. You know, we try and keep it focused on clean energy, but about 2 or 3, I'd say a couple times a week, we throw something in there about conspiracy stuff and link to stuff that you guys have. We have a pretty extensive page on InfoWars and on conspiracy at PESWiki. So. You know, to me, it's all part of the package, because the conspiracy is what this stuff, this is an anecdote or antidote to the conspiracy.
Right, right. They're holding us down, wanting us to be dependent on them. And this is the type of stuff, the stuff that you're studying, that you're covering right now, I mean, is really what could take, you know, humanity to the next level. Let's move on to the third one. We're going on the top 5 of exotic free energy technologies. If anybody's following along at home, you can read along with us. We're going to the motor generator self-loop with usable energy left over. Does this have a name, or it seems like it needs an acronym or something?
Yeah, I've come up with Q-MoGen. Q is the letter Q has a little circle with a line through it. It has the idea of self-loop with energy left over. So this one is crazy. But before I talk about this, I want to give a caveat here. Okay. As I've been tracking this stuff for a decade, you get what's called breakthrough burnout, where you think something's just a few months away or maybe a year away, and then a year later it's still 18 months, you know, now it's 18 months away, or now it's 9 months instead of a year away. It's just like this perpetual, never arriving thing. I mean, when I started this back a decade ago, I thought we were a few months away. And, you know, it's been that way all along. I also thought destruction was a few months away as well. You know, the number of things that we thought were going to come, whether it was, you know, Nibiru or whatever it is, the next false flag operation. There's so many different ways that we could come to destruction. And I'm grateful that we've had the time that we have. But, you know, it's really exciting, because as these things come out, these new energy technologies, and there are tons of them, by the way. I mean, our top 5 just scratches the surface of these things that are materializing. The caveat is this: you have to be careful to not let your expectations get up too high. I get really excited about this. I'm kind of a cheerleader more than a journalist. I'm rooting for these guys. I want them to win. I believe before I'm a skeptic. Somebody comes along with a story. I put up on my news. I say, this guy says he's got such and such, and here's the video, and it looks pretty interesting. And then we, kind of suss it out, so to speak, do some vetting, and sometimes it stays there. Like the Rossi thing's been right there front and center for a year and a half now. It's possible that I missed something here, and there's some data, and I'm just misinterpreting things, and I think I see something, and it's not. It's still fairly early in its development. It's not, this particular, the one in #1 position is not self-looped yet. It can be self-looped. I'm confident of that because of the data that we're seeing, but that takes money, it takes time, it takes expertise, it takes some engineering. And we want to get this stuff moving. And so we're coming here saying, here's the data for the people, the licensees to come forward. Here's what you can look at. And if they're interested, they come in. This next technology is, I overlooked this one for quite a while because it's a story and a half. You picture a small motor turning a big generator, and the generator produces enough power to loop back and keep the motor going and produce extra energy left over. That's why I call it Q for the self-loop with energy left over, Q-MoGen, because I've had a number of people come to me with these things, and so many of them now, it's like I can't ignore it. And from a scientific point of view, at first blush, you say, well, that's impossible. That's lifting yourself up by your own bootstrap. But actually, there is some scientific explanation as to what may be going on here. In these two, the DC motor, for example, AC generator, maybe there's some phase angle stuff that goes on. You get some harmonics going on, and the harmonics bring in this extra energy from outside of the system, and that's the, quote, free energy from the environment that it harnesses so that this small motor can power a big generator with energy left over and keep itself running. Let me tell you an anecdote. I had a guy from India who is scouting technologies on behalf of the chief minister of his country, and he flew to Salt Lake City to meet with me to see a technology that I know about in Salt Lake. And we sat in his hotel room, and he showed me a video of a system that they have in India, which is the same thing that I just described. 1.5 kilowatts driving 7.5 kilowatts, keeping the 1.5 kilowatt system running while producing 5.5 usable energy, which they ran for 50 hours, powering stuff in their shop continuously before the belt started smoking. There were some engineering issues. They're taking that thing to market in India. He showed me that video, and the next morning, independently, I got an email from somebody about a company in Spain called TechnoKontrol, where control is spelled with a K, that does the same thing. They show the videos on their website. This is a company that is a credible company that's been selling products for years, primarily fire suppression. And you go to their products link, and you get this little drop-down menu that fills the page of some 50 products. And over here on the left-hand side, there's a couple of links for this TK5000 generator. And you click on that, and it talks about the self-loop system that doesn't take any energy to keep it going, doesn't take fuel. It basically keeps running, producing power. They show these videos over here. You can click on the videos. It shows them running, powering stuff. And I got that the next morning, not even 24 hours after seeing this video of this guy over in India. And then I started thinking about the people that I know and started asking around and, talked to Peter Lindemann, talked to Carl Paulsness, and what do you think about this? And it's like, yeah, I think there could be something there. So we put up this feature page, and we've been tracking this really carefully. And one of the guys in that, actually from Indonesia, that we just found out about last week and put a story up about him, put up a feature page, he's willing to open source his technology. And there's another guy who's willing to open source it. So we may be getting some instructions on this, and we've got a little form that we started for people to share ideas and to do the replications and ask the questions and come up with the plans. By the way, when you do open sourcing, that doesn't mean, I'm talking to the inventors right now who might have stuff like this, that doesn't mean you're just giving it away to the planet, because what we do is we put up the plans and we say there's a caveat. The inventor's willing to give this to the planet, but if you do anything commercial, well, whether it's selling plans, selling kits, selling components, selling finished units, selling licenses, selling, going manufacturing, anything that where you're receiving money for what you're doing that's commercial, we want a royalty, whether it's 5%, 10%, and then we split that with the inventor. We have an agreement with the inventor that we split part of it so we can cover our administrative costs, help promote these other technologies. So basically, we're asking for an honor system. And Rob, I want to ask you a question. I'm putting you on the spot here. What do you think is you know people, you know the good, bad, and the ugly, and you guys cover a lot of really bad news, but you also know there's some really cool people on the planet, especially in the sector that we're talking about. People who want to create jobs, people who want to come up with solutions for the little guy, not the big guy, not these big corporations who come in and want to see your patent and want to go into the license and lock you up in a monopoly or an exclusive relationship for 5 years or whatever.
I call those innovation bulldozers, by the way. That's what they are.
Yeah, and with crowdfunding, it basically makes energy democratic. It makes invention democratic, so people can actually vote for their solutions with a little bit of money and starting next year, they'll actually able to invest in a company up to $2,000 without having to go through all the rigmarole. But anyway, in this open sourcing idea that we're talking about, what ratio do you think is a reasonable number that people will actually do the right thing and pay the royalty? They download the plans, they build the thing, they have one power in their house, no problem, don't have to pay anything. But if you start selling them to your neighbors and you're making some revenue there, send 10% or 5%, whatever the royalty is that the inventor wants, send it off to the inventor. How many people do you think will do that worldwide?
I think easily 10 million.
I'm talking about percentage-wise.
Oh, percentage-wise. Yeah, I was just trying to put a number on it. There's 7 billion people. I mean, I think you're always going to have people who are going to take it and not do it, and you'll catch them sooner or later. It's just like people who take videos and duplicate them and send them out. Although we tell people to do it with our stuff. Because we want the information out there. But I think you'll have the majority will opt into the system and know that it's for the betterment of humanity, and by receiving something, they need to give something in return. And I would say 70%.
70%.
Yeah.
I think I would agree with you on that. And I think your guys' operation is a good example of that, because you do give a lot of stuff away. I watch your YouTube videos, and I'm sending links to people and encouraging them to subscribe to your feed and stuff. And we post links to some of the products that you guys talk about. And so you guys are growing your process. Not that you're rich driving around in BMWs, but you guys are surviving. You guys have an income from doing this work that you love. What do you have, 50 people on staff now?
About that, yeah. It's grown a lot since I've been here. I got here in 2009, and right before Obama deception.
Look at how much stuff you guys give out.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's a lesson. That's a case in point to the inventors out there who are skittish about giving to open sourcing their technology, where you're asking that people do the right thing and remit a royalty. Not everyone can, not everyone will, but enough will that you'll get enough to stay alive. You'll be able to pay your bills. You'll be able to build your research lab. You'll be able to go into production, and I'm guessing you'll probably do better than most of the people who are in the mainstream who do it the normal way.
Sure. If you hold out and wait for the giant boys to come along, first they're going to pick you clean with lawyers and all this other stuff, and then if it's like going to I've done music. I never made it to a big level, but I've sold some CDs, and I made more money selling 1,000 CDs than I would have if I would have sold 100,000 through a big company. And it's just because when you keep it local, there's less overhead going to the giant pyramid that isn't doing anything for you, essentially. Yeah. So yeah. I think if people put the stuff out there, there's going to be enough responsible people who will see the value in that and will contribute to it to keep it going, because that is where people don't want to destroy themselves. Most people don't. And technology like this is going to empower and free us. And I'm totally on board with it. I would love to see it happen. I would love to see it happen 10 years ago, 20 years ago, like you said. And I'm surprised that we're not at that point yet. And it is because these are disruptive technologies that if they come out there on the market, there's no reason for General Motors or Exxon to come up with self-loop generators that produce their own energy. There's no reason for it.
Themselves obsolete.
Yeah, exactly. And, they're smart people. They realize that. But we have to be smarter in terms of the way we get our information out and, use the web while it's still there, because we may not have this web. If this stuff goes out, they may throw a switch and say, we can't have everybody building their own, electric generators. Boom. Then all of a sudden there's a cyber attack where everything must be shut down and controlled and cordoned off. And, I can see that happening in this situation, because this is the type of disruptive technology that really does change the way things are done. It changes the game on all levels.
One thing I want to address here that I like to talk about when we have opportunities like this, I believe that just as we get the government we deserve, and our government is a reflection of the people, also we get the energy that we deserve. And one of the reasons we don't have free energy yet is because people are not yet to the state of enough enlightenment and awakeness. But once we get that turning point, and I think we're getting close as the powers that be are bringing us close to hitting the wall with this addiction to oil, this addiction to the corrupt powers that be, and their mainstream everything that's totally corrupt. Once we hit that wall and wake up, and we could hit the wall, I would like to see us see the handwriting on the wall, wake up before that so we don't destroy our infrastructure, so it makes it easier for us to rally, to wake up. But once people wake up, then we'll be ready for free energy, because I personally believe that these exotic free energy technologies are a blessing to mankind that we are close to deserving, but we're not there yet. And we've got to get the patriot community to stop thinking of clean energy as a liberal cause. It's not. It is a freedom cause. You look at the people in our audience, and they are hardcore freedom advocates for the most part, 80%, 85%.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think where you see a lot of people clinging to like coal energy and oil energy, they're going, this is affordable at this point. Solar energy, wind energy is not affordable on a scale to give people the type of energy to do the things we do in this modern society. And so you see people clinging to those, saying, look, we can't touch these until we have something else in place. And so what you get is people aren't going to give that up until they see the golden egg, quote unquote, that energy source out there that's going to come along. And, it's going to happen. It's going to happen small. And then the internet, hopefully, if it's still around, will give people the impetus to, I think, proliferate these things. But I agree. We get the energy we deserve. And you know what? We've gone a little bit over the time that we wanted to spend. We try to keep our show about an hour a night. Of course, we go over a lot. But we definitely want to have you back up, Sterling. We didn't even get to finish the top 5. But if anybody wants to read that, they could go to Top 5 Exotic Free Energy Technologies on PESWiki.com. And we're going to have you back up again.
Top5energy.com is a shortcut. Top5energy.com, either the number or the spelling. Top5energy.com will forward you to that.
Gotcha. Top5energy.com. I spent hours on the site, and I don't even think I scratched the surface on it. There's so much I don't know about general electricity that I would like to learn. And so it's pretty interesting reading about all this stuff. It gives you a lot of what if scenarios. And I appreciate that you're out there kind of on the watchtower for free energy, for this energy that is going to take us to the next level. So we salute you for doing that, and we hope to talk to you in the future.
Thank you, Rob. Good luck on your Money Bomb tomorrow.
All right, thanks a lot. I'm going to replay some excerpts of this on the Money Bomb tomorrow. Well, I'm going to go on Friday. It starts tomorrow. I'll be going on from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Friday morning, and I'm going to have a few guests. I'm going to play a little bit of this interview, and it's really interesting. If you want to see more on, it's a pretty interesting video. You can get it at our store. It's called Thrive. Sterling is not in it, and I actually thought he was, because the producer and director of this, Foster Gamble, mentioned Sterling Allen to us a while back. And, you know, we get busy. I forget about things. And Sterling reached out to me a few weeks ago and was wanting, you know, said, hey, you know, I'm here. I'm ready to come on, talk about free energy. And, you know, very interesting conversation. There is a lot of stuff out there that we don't know about. There's a lot of cool technology. We didn't even get into Tesla, which is, and, you know, he threw a little bit about the Tesla Museum. But a lot of this comes from, you know, Nikola Tesla. A lot of what people are using now, a lot of his technology was stolen and lost, and we don't even know where it's at. But there's reports of him, you know, coming out in little hover cars, pulling electricity out of thin air, shooting it across vast areas. And there's a story where he showed a demonstration and said we could pull energy right out of the air, and all of a sudden his backers said, no, we don't want that, and they just basically turned him into a pauper. And but AC current was invented by Tesla. It wasn't invented by Thomas Edison. He invented DC current. So go check out PES Wiki, PESWIKI.com. And any inventors out there, if you've got your technologies, I guess send them Sterling's way, and he will vet them. He does do a pretty good vetting job. I was looking at the questions he's asking. He's not ready to just jump in just because something comes along and they produce a pretty good YouTube video. He's not ready to jump in and say, oh, this is the one. He actually does do his vetting. But this information is getting out there, and it's great to see. We're going to go to break. We're going to play two more videos from our inner office video contest that Alex threw out on Friday of people passing out the new Glossy InfoWars Glossy magazine, which is right here. If you want to get a subscription, you can go to Infowars.com, InfoWarsStore.com, or InfoWarsShop.com and check that out.
Free magazine. Find out what the Defense Department's up to. Here you go. Sure. Like a free magazine?
Alex Jones.
Yeah.
Awesome.
You want this?
I support.
Find out what the Defense Department's doing. Yeah, sure. This is the new Glossy.
I can read his. We're going to be here all day. I don't want to drag all around.
Yeah, thank you. Sure, no problem.
Appreciate your work.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Say hi to Alex for.
Will do. it? Yeah, I like it. Good. First run of this in the first magazine, we're all newsprint. Okay. This is glossy. It's like a free magazine. How about you? Like a free magazine? Like a free magazine?
Free magazine?
Yeah, free.
Thank you.
Sure. Find out what the defense department's up to. It's like free magazine. Okay, great. Do you like it? Good.
Okay. I've seen it around for a while now.
Good. Like a free magazine?
Oh, yeah. Is this local?
Yeah. Yeah, find out what the defense department's up to. Would you like one?
Hey, come on, man.
How about you? Would you like one? Would you like one? It's free.
Can I get one?
Sure. Yeah.
Is he in town here? He's in town here, right?
Yeah. He's right here in Austin. Yeah.
What are you doing?
Broadcasting worldwide.
Nice. Oh,
Yeah. Jones, InfoWars, find out what DARPA's up to. How about you guys? It's like a free magazine.
Can you tell me where I can pick this up out of a stand?
Magazine, find out what DARPA's up to. Free magazine? Find out what DARPA's up to?
I got it.
You got it? I got it, bro. Good. Thanks. It's like a free magazine. Find out what DARPA's up to. How about y'all?
are we winning?
I think so.
Excellent.
I think so. We're fighting anyway. It's a good cause. Win or lose, we're fighting it.